different typefaces, character encodings and computer languages use various encodings and glyphs for quotation marks. This article lists some of these glyphs along with their Unicode code points and HTML entities. Quotation marks in English. English curved quotes, also called book quotes, or curly quotes, resemble small figures 6 and 9 raised above the baseline, but then solid, that is, with the counters filled. In many typefaces, the shapes are the same as those of an inverted and normal comma. The closing single quote can also be used as an apostrophe. Typewriter quotation marks. Ambidextrous quotation marks were introduced on typewriters to reduce the number of keys on the keyboard, and were inherited by computer keyboards and character sets. Some computer systems designed in the past had character sets with proper opening and closing quotes. However, the ASCII character set, which has been used on a wide variety of computers since the 1960s, only contains a straight single quote and double quote. Many systems, such as the personal computers of the 1980s and early 90s, actually drew these quotes like curved closing quotes on screen and in printouts, so text would appear like this: "Good morning, Dave, said Hal. Unregistered trademark good morning, Dave, unregistered trademark said Hal." These same systems often drew the grave accent as an open quote glyph. This gives a proper appearance at the cost of semantic correctness. Nothing similar was available for the double quote, so many people resorted to using two single quotes for double quotes, which would look like the following: good morning, Dave, unregistered trademark unregistered trademark said Hal. Good morning, Dave, unregistered trademark said Hal. The typesetting application text still uses this convention for input files. However, the appearance of these characters has varied greatly from font to font. On systems which provide straight quotes and grave accents like most do today, the result is poor as shown here: "Good morning, Dave," said Hal. "Good morning, Dave," said Hal. The Unicode slanted curved quotes described below are shown here for comparison: "Good morning, Dave, said Hal. Good morning, Dave, unregistered trademark said Hal." Quotation marks in electronic documents. Historically, support for curved quotes was a problem in information technology, primarily because the widely used ASCII character set did not include a representation for them. To use non-ASCII characters in email and on Usenet, the sending mail application needs to set a MIME type specifying the encoding. In most cases, this also requires the use of a content transfer encoding. Curved and straight quotes are also sometimes referred to as smart quotes and dumb quotes respectively. These names are in reference to the name of a function found in several word processors that automatically convert straight quotes typed by the user into curved quotes, attempting to be smart enough to determine which typed quotes are opening and closing. Since curved quotes are the typographically correct ones, word processors have traditionally offered curved quotes to users. Before Unicode was widely accepted and supported, this meant representing the curved quotes in whatever 8-bit encoding the software and underlying operating system were using. But the character sets for Windows and Macintosh use two different pairs of values for curved quotes, and ISO 8859-1 has no curved quotes, making cross-platform compatibility quite difficult to implement. Compounding the problem is the smart quotes feature mentioned above, which some word processors use by default. With this feature typically enabled by default, users may not have realized that the ASCII-compatible straight quotes they were typing on their keyboards ended up as something entirely different. Further, the smart quotes feature converts opening apostrophes into opening single quotation marks, essentially upside-down apostrophes. A blatant example of this error appears in the advertisements for the television show Till Death. Unicode support has since become the norm for operating systems. Thus, in at least some cases, transferring content containing curved quotes from a word processor to another application or platform has been less troublesome, provided all steps in the process are Unicode aware. But there are still applications which still use the older character sets, or output data using them, and thus problems still occur. There are other considerations for including curved quotes in the widely used markup languages HTML, XML, and SGML. If the encoding of the document supports direct representation of the characters, they can be used, but doing so can cause difficulties if the document needs to be edited by someone who is using an editor that cannot support the encoding. For example, many simple text editors only handle a few encodings or assume that the encoding of any file opened is a platform default, so the quote characters may appear as garbage. HTML includes a set of entities for curved quotes, and LSQUO, and RSQUO, and SBQUO, and LDQUO, and RDQUO, and NBDQUO. XML does not define these by default, but specifications based on it can do so, and XHTML does. In addition, while the HTML4, XHTML and XML specifications allow specifying numeric character references in either hexadecimal or decimal, SGML and older versions of HTML only support decimal references. Thus, to represent curly quotes in XML and SGML, it is safest to use the decimal numeric character references. That is, to represent the double curly quotes use a number 8220 and a number 8221. And to represent single curly quotes use a number 8216 and a number 8217. Both numeric and named references function correctly in almost every modern browser. While using numeric references can make a page more compatible with outdated browsers, using named references are safer for systems that handle multiple character encodings. Quotation marks in Unicode. In Unicode, 29 characters are marked quotation mark equals yes by character property. They all have general category punctuation, and a subcategory open, close, initial, final or other. Notes: an equals also sometimes used by 18th and 19th century printers for the small c for Scottish names, for example Ma Euro Culloch. For a printed example see the Green Bag reference or the Dictionary of Australasian Biography, page 290. Be the same UPlus 2019 code point and glyph as used for typographic apostrophes. Both UPlus 0027 and UPlus 2019 are ambiguous about distinguishing punctuation from apostrophes. See also, quotation mark, references.